Okay, the first comma rule that we're going to take a look at is compound sentences, which is among the easier comma rules, so this is a good place for us to start. So let's just take a look at what the rule entails. The rule states that a comma plus a conjunction are used to join two independent clauses. Remember that an independent clause is simply another name for a complete sentence. So basically, the rule is a comma plus a conjunction is used to join two complete sentences. There are two types of conjunctions that you need to think about when looking at a compound sentence. The first type you're probably familiar with, I'm sure you talked about it freshman year, and that is a coordinating conjunction. The acronym for that is fanboys, which you may remember hearing, and that stands for and, or, nor, but, yet, or so. So those are the most common kind of conjunctions. You'll probably agree that you see those frequently in sentences, and you're pretty familiar with those. There's a second type of conjunction that you also have to keep an eye out for, and those are called subordinating conjunctions. These are used less frequently, include words such as although, whereas, though, provided that, after, whether, even though, or while. And you'd probably agree that those are used less frequently than our coordinating conjunctions, but they can also serve to join two independent clauses in a compound sentence. So these are all different kinds of conjunctions, but they can all serve the same purpose with our comma rule. So let's take a look at how exactly we would go about building a compound sentence using any number of these conjunctions. A comma is only used when two independent clauses are joined. Remember, an independent clause is just another word for a complete sentence. So if you are joining an independent clause and a dependent clause, you do not need to use a comma. So let's take a look at what that looks like in action. Our example reads, Abby hates eating celery, comma, but she loves chocolate cake. So notice Abby hates eating celery is an independent clause or a complete sentence. She loves chocolate cake is also an independent clause or complete sentence. Because we have a subject, she, that could stand on its own being its own sentence. So because of that, we do need to include a comma to balance out those two complete thoughts. However, in the second example, Abby hates eating celery, again, our independent clause. But notice that second clause is now dependent. Loves chocolate cake, that's a dependent clause. That could not stand on its own because we did not repeat the subject. So notice the lack of comma in that case because we have an independent and a dependent clause joined by the conjunction. Here's another example. Martians landed on Earth, comma, and they abducted my little brother. Again, Martians landed on Earth is an independent clause. We have a conjunction and another independent clause, they abducted my little brother. That could stand on its own as its own sentence. Because of that, we need to include a comma. In the second case, Martians landed on Earth and abducted my little brother. Now we have a dependent clause that could not stand on its own because we did not repeat the subject. Therefore, notice there's no comma joining the two clauses. So that's basically the rule. Looking at your compound sentence, you need to decide if you have two independent clauses, which will need a comma, or whether you have an independent and dependent clause joined by the conjunction, in which case you do not need a comma. One last little tip, just to make things a little more confusing, there's something called a conjunctive adverb. These look very similar to coordinating conjunctions or subordinating conjunctions. However, they're actually considered adverbs, and so you cannot use a conjunctive adverb to join two independent clauses, even though they're very similar. So here are some common conjunctive adverbs. However, therefore, furthermore, consequently, subsequently, moreover, also, and nonetheless. These look very similar to our conjunctions, but they're actually considered adverbs. Therefore, you cannot use those to join clauses in a compound sentence with a comma, or you'll be creating a comma splice. So it would be incorrect to say, I drink water every day, comma, however, I could probably drink more. However is an adverb, not a conjunction, so by using a comma to join those two clauses, we've actually created a comma splice. So with a conjunctive adverb, you'd need to use a semicolon. I only bring this up because it's one of the most common types of comma splices I see in students' writing, so you just want to be on the lookout for, am I using a conjunction or am I using a conjunctive adverb? If you're not sure which is which, they're very easy to look up online, so you could always look up the word to make sure that it's actually a conjunction joining your two clauses, not an adverb. If it is an adverb, go ahead and use that semicolon to make sure you don't create a comma splice. All right, now that we've gone over the rule, pause the video and complete the practice exercise. When you're done, you can continue playing the video to check your answers. All right, let's take a moment to go through the practice exercise and see how you did. Number 1 reads, Timmy is the smallest kid in class, though he is the smartest. We have a subordinating conjunction, though, so we need to figure out, do we have 2 independent clauses or an independent and dependent? Timmy is the smartest kid in class. Again, we're always going to start with that independent. He is the smartest is also an independent clause. It could stand on its own. It's got a subject he. Therefore, we do need a comma to join those 2 clauses. Number 2 reads, the quarterback is 6'1" and weighs 217 pounds. And we're always going to start with our independent clause. Here, weighs 217 pounds is clearly a dependent clause. It could not stand on its own. Therefore, we do not need a comma before the conjunction and. Number 3, I am hungry is our independent clause, yet I don't want to eat. That is also an independent clause. We've repeated our subject, I. Therefore, we would want to add a comma before our coordinating conjunction yet. Number 4, it will be a great success, independent clause, or it will be a terrible disaster, independent clause. Because of the 2 independent clauses on either side of our coordinating conjunction, we do need to add a comma. Number 5, I am disgusted but can't look away. After our independent clause, we have a dependent clause, can't look away. We would all agree that that cannot stand on its own. It does not have a subject. Therefore, we do not need a comma before our coordinating conjunction but. Learning about commas is really fun and makes me happy. I'm sure you all feel that way right now. Learning about commas is really fun is our independent clause. Makes me happy, however, is a dependent clause. We did not repeat our subject, so we do not need a comma before our coordinating conjunction and. We can leave that blank. Some people believe we should invest in space travel is an independent clause, while others think it is a wasted endeavor is another independent clause. Notice in this one we actually changed our subject from some to others, but it doesn't matter. We still have 2 independent clauses, both complete sentences, so we do need to add a comma before our subordinating conjunction. And last but not least, number 8, children are inundated with technology, though may not always know how to handle it. We start here with an independent clause, and we finish with a dependent clause, may not always know how to handle it. We did not repeat our subject children, so this subordinating conjunction does not need a comma. So that one can be left blank. So there you have it. That's comma rule number 1. One to use a comma when joining 2 clauses in a compound sentence.